very consumed at the moment by pre-conversation that I just had to start streaming. I'm not really ready to go to sleep. I would like to go to bed soon. Hopefully, it won't be streaming super long time this time. Maybe like 2 hours instead of 6 or something like that. But one never knows until one finds out upon discovery of what's going to happen, you know. These are the ways of the world. Hi, Mean Bird. How are you? Hello? How are you? Won't you tell me your name? Hi, Winston's mom again. Yeah, I finished working with Chloe, and then I read those articles that D2 shared, and clicked a couple of citations links as well from those articles, and it just kind of got me a little bit fuming again. How do you decide right and wrong? Oh, sorry, I didn't answer that last time coming in. Well, the answer is like by and large, individual people don't have to make moral decisions. Like, you know, as I'm in my adulthood now, I'm not ever thinking things like, I wonder if I should steal that thing, you know? So by and large, we're habituated to our behaviors and the limits of those behaviors. So um, if a person is actualizing, you might say they get less less wicked as they age, right? Because wickedness is its own punishment for decent people. What is this pre-conversation leading to? Well, this is technically not the pre-conversation, pre-cat. This is the post-pre-conversation, but pre-conversation conversation. Okay. The pre-conversation happened actually before you got here. Regardless, it was the cause of me live streaming because, as often happens when I'm stuck in a state of pre-conversation, I'm mad at somebody, and I am giving them speeches, right? Like I'm having a conversation with them. Except it's not really a conversation; it's me lecturing them in my imagination. Except it's not just in my imagination. I'm literally talking out loud, walking around outside the house, saying, "And another thing, meh, 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 meh," you know, giving them the old 1-2. And I started pacing. I tried to play football, and I couldn't even pay adequate attention to it. Why not? Because obviously I was still stuck in pre-conversation. What the most effective treatment for pre-conversation lock-in syndrome, which is what I had, is to live stream. I've learned that long ago. It just keeps being true over and over again. When I am mad, if I just pace around and get mad out by myself and talk through the thing over and over again, then I would just never, I would never, I would never stop being stop being stuck in that loop, you know? So I have to live stream, which will successfully get me stuck in a loop. So I will answer these questions one at a time here. How do you decide what's right or wrong? And to answer that one, um, I mean, the next one. So is it society or what you alone believe? Putty Cat, Eric, I will be on vacation until 2025. Can you give advice on how much beer and tequila I should drink until then? And what can you say about life in the USA? All right, let's start with, is it society? I mean, are you asking the question, how do I decide what's right and wrong in making my day-to-day decisions in life? Or are you asking me, how do people decide that? Because there are a variety of different ways that people decide what's right and wrong, different things that people appeal to, and different standards that are necessary to meet in different contexts. So if you want to prove that I did wrong and therefore need to pay you money. It's called a civil lawsuit, right? And the standard you have to meet there is preponderance of the evidence. And you don't have to have unanimity in the jury, right? So if you're saying, like, Eric, you have a position on morality and what comprises things that are morally impermissible, things that are morally permissible, and things that are morally obligatory, right? So on what basis do you foundation that claim that there are those three categories for a first thing? Well, I mean, the thing is, when we do, moral reasoning via negative rights framework, it informs us about a prospective action is one of those three categories. In fact, anything that even pretends to be a normative framework is going to unavoidably divide things into those three categories. So, because those are the statuses, right? Either you're wicked, you're good, virtuous, or it's not either of those things. So it's wicked if I steal from you. It's virtuous if I give food to the homeless kitchen or something. And it's neutral if I just eat a hamburger from my fridge. Which is to say it's morally permissible, but not morally obligatory and not morally impermissible. So the thing is, the reason we can say this or that is morally impermissible, we're saying under this framework, under a rights framework. And if you want me to explain like why ought a rights framework have primacy as a normative framework, well, the answer is because it's the only real normative framework. In other words, it's the only kind of normative framework that affords you foreknowledge that remains true before the action is taken. Any kind of utilitarian framework, you have to measure the impacts to determine whether the action turned out to be good or not, Oh yeah, legal and moral do not always align. That's true. I didn't say that at all. I'm just pointing out that if you're asking how I do something or how society does something or how it is done in various contexts, we can give you good answers to that. If you're asking like why, when you claim, yeah, it's morally impermissible, why are you right? Well, I would tell you that I'm right because I'm articulating that it's morally impermissible under this normative framework, that this is the normative framework of primacy. And I can even explain all the argumentation and stuff to you. But the point is, I'm quite confident that neither of us decide what's right and wrong by doing that, right? That's a very philosophical thing. It's saying, here's what's correct argumentationally. That doesn't mean that to be a moral person, you need to calculate things via a rights calculus. So it's important to remember that explanations, right? Explanations have value and power because of how they can interface with other explanations and allow us to understand more or better. So in this case, if we're trying to calculate how ought we as a society deal with things that happen, like, Judy cheated on Bob. Well, why is that bad necessarily? Well, because it's morally impermissible in that you have essentially you've defrauded your partner of their contractual monopoly over your sexual resources. Assuming you both agreed to these terms, assuming you both have the same understanding of what a monogamous relationship is and that you both wanted to be in such, right? And that was all discussed, then it's wicked because it's a betrayal. However, it's not a crime because it doesn't violate the other person's rights. The other person may have a very reasonable expectation to a monopoly on you because you agreed to it. And it may be wicked of you to have lied or made promises you don't keep or something, but you cannot give another person rights over your body because it belongs to you and cannot be transferred. It's the one possession that you cannot transfer over to anybody else, because to do so would inherently be to defraud the other person, because you can't actually transfer over your will. You could just pretend to or say you are, but you still have to make decisions and be culpable for your actions regardless. Hi, John Confetti. Oh no, I remember you. What's the topic? Well, a normative framework is a way of determining what's right or wrong. So, like, you could make it anything. You could say, good actions are those where the verb starts with a letter between A and M, and bad actions are letters that start, verbs start with N through Z. So you could make it an arbitrary thing like that if you wanted to. And then you'd still say, this is my normative framework. I determine whether something's moral or not based on what letter the verb starts with. It would be a bad normative framework. It would not be correct. It would not be informative about what you really ought to do or not, but it would calculate you an answer every time, right? Hi, D2. What's the topic? Well, um, I'm talking about. I was talking about what your. I came in here to talk about the doctor stuff, your articles that you shared with me, and how they made me launch back into pre-conversation, which is when I'm pacing around outside, talking out loud, giving a stern scolding to my doctor. Now, a normative framework is a way to calculate whether a prospective action is good, bad, or neither. Oh no, I appreciate it a lot. I really appreciate those articles. It made me, as I read them, uh, after I worked with Chloe, I turned my attention back to these and actually read them carefully rather than just skimmed them like I did. And I still don't quite get the sympathetic parasympathetic thing, but I mean, I get what you said, but I didn't glean that from the article. And even when I say I get what you said, I mean, I could repeat it basically, which is that there are parasympathetic and sympathetic factors. That the parasympathetic are are promoting like sexual function, and the sympathetic are anti-promoting it, contraindicating it or whatever, and and that the sympathetic elements get boosted by the Wellbutrin such that they might overwhelm the parasympathetic elements. I get your explanation that you gave me, but I didn't see I didn't I didn't really understand that article super well. It's super medical term dense. So if I got it right, say, yeah, that's the gist of it. Because I would probably, try to convey the gist of it uh, to the doctor. On a personal level, you experience this. If you're anxious and stressed, you can't get horny. If you're relaxed, it's easier to get horny. Oh, well, no, cheating has nothing to do with any of this. I'm trying to answer multiple questions at once. Okay. I'm trying to answer Cone Man's questions, which I think are good questions and interesting. Oh, I'm not, no. D2, I was never worried about that. I was never worried that I was making it up or lying or imagining what's happening. I, I never, there was a moment after he replied to my last message that he replied to, um, when I was like, when he basically was saying like you were rude in your last message, and for a moment I was like, oh shit, I felt bad about being rude, but it never occurred to me for a second that either I was lying, wrong about the situation, or in the wrong in general. You know. So the thing is, what I'm what I am mostly struck by is a sense of indignation and a substantial amount of disappointed surprise. Like, I respect this guy. This guy is a doctor whom I respect. Okay, that's like saying he's a politician who tells the truth. They're very rare doctors that I respect. Or I did respect him, quite a bit. I thought, yeah, this is a reasonable guy. I can speak and be heard by him and not be shut down with bullshit like, well, I'm the doctor and I know best, so stop asking me questions and stuff like that. I hate doctors because they don't want to be grilled and interrogated and shit. They don't want to be held accountable. They don't even want to prescribe you drugs you need, apparently. So it's just, I've just been seething. It's like, and that's what this is why he's in big trouble. Because normally, when I come across a problem with the doctor, it happens in real time. I encountered this horrible doctor in Los Angeles at the urgent care who was, my dad went into the urgent care. The doctor treated him or whatever, eventually, after leaving him in the waiting room for like 5 hours. Um, and she called, we went there to go get him and finally, and she's like, oh, you need to take him to the emergency room. And I was like, okay, well, why? What's the emergency happening here? And she like pointed to this heart monitor printout thing. And I'm like, okay, so you're saying that there's some indication in these curves here that says he's about to have a heart attack or what? She says, let's just trust my medical expertise. In my medical opinion, he needs to go to the emergency room. I said, wait, back up a second. Does this paper actually say what you told me or not? Like, does it actually indicate a pending emergency? If so, point to what means that and explain to me in brief, why it means that, what it's measuring, why it means that. Oh, she did not want to do any speck of that, right? But in that moment, it made me absolutely fucking livid, right? And I am not nearly as effective when I'm in the moment, been made angry by a surprising, like, surprise butt fuck. It's like, I'm not going to deal with things that well in real time because I'm a deliberator. But this doctor is in big trouble with me. He's going to get a thorough undressing. I mean, dressing down. Sorry. He's not going to get an undressing. He's going to get a thorough dressing down. He may get an undressing, but it won't be from me. Because I'm pissed about this. I'm completely right. I'm seething, which means I will have rehearsed this involuntarily. I will rehearse this appointment 100 times before I go into it. I already have this litany list of complaints, hilarious things I can say, because I don't know if you guys are aware, but I tried to go to the dentist the other day to get my teeth fixed. I was going to get implants, a 4-in-1, they call it, or something like that, on the top of my mouth. But guess what the dentist told me? No, Eric, you have to go get a diabetes test first. Why? What makes you think I have diabetes? I don't know that you don't have diabetes. Okay. So now what I'll do, I'll go to the diabetes tester and he can tell me, no, before you get diabetes tests, you need to be cleared by your psychiatrist for sexual dysfunction. Then my psychiatrist can tell me, go to a general practitioner to get Viagra. And the general practitioner can tell me, I can't prescribe you Viagra until you get your teeth fixed. And it'll be an infinite circle of butt fuckery. What do you think about that, huh? The thing is, I would love to be able to protect myself from this shame and embarrassment, but I just cannot not talk about things that are on my mind. I just can't do it. I have no other means of clearing this seething insanity out of me. You know, it's like, what in the world is wrong with this world? He tries to tell me, well, you know, that's something you normally get from a general practitioner. But when I look at these articles and I'm looking through the citations, it's like almost all the citations are to other articles about antidepressants and sexual dysfunction. And they're all in Clinical Psychiatry magazine. So the idea that so he tells me, well, it's something you normally get from a general practitioner. That might technically be true in the sense that the majority of people who get it don't have psychiatrists. But I can guarantee you that probably 90% of people who do have psychiatrists who get it from their psychiatrist because of the side effects of the other drugs they're getting, you know? So it's like, at best, highly misleading warrant he made that normally is something you get as your general practitioner. And at worst, a bald-faced lie. So it's not like he's going to, no, he's expensive. He's expensive. He doesn't take any insurance. This is the other hilarious thing, right? So my psychiatrist, who I'm sure makes shit tons of money by only accepting cash patients and rich cash patients, because he's not cheap, you know. He, in his state of doctorly privilege, is just like, oh, well, you know, you just get a general practitioner, just go get it from them. Okay, Dr. Ingram, so, well, I remember when I started with you, I paid, you know, a big amount at first for the first meeting so you could do the full assessment of me and everything. And then I've had to have multiple follow-ups and everything. I don't know what the total amount I've spent on you so far is, but it's a lot. Let's imagine this general practitioner I go to is just like you. So now I'm doubling my healthcare costs because my psychiatrist doesn't want to solve the problem the Wellbutrin he prescribed created. Aren't we just privileged as fuck? You know, wait till he gets in his 50s. And let's just say he's not even on Wellbutrin. He's just not as vigorous as me. So he starts getting wilty. And he goes to, I don't know how it works if you're a doctor, if you can just prescribe shit for yourself or if you got to go to another doctor or whatever. And he goes to his doctor friend and says, hey, can you prescribe me some Viagra? And his doctor friend goes to him, you know, that's something you really need to see a general practitioner about. And I'm a, I'm a neurosurgeon, or I'm in neurology. And he'd be like, really? You're not going to prescribe me Viagra? Why not? Like I said, that's normally something you get from a general practitioner, and I'm a neurologist. No special treatment, you know? No, of course that's not going to happen. Of course, he'll expect and get professional courtesy. It'll be easy as squeezy for him. And like I said, what if I were to go to a general practitioner? Why should I believe that the general practitioner isn't going to set yet another condition before he'll give me Viagra, right? After all, my psychiatrist, who actually should be responsible for prescribing it, since it links directly to the other medication he prescribed, he's not willing to prescribe it to me. without me meeting some other condition. I have to go someplace else to get it, right? So why should I think that this other doctor is going to give it to me either? Maybe he'll say, no, you need to go see a heart specialist because Viagra can be hard on the heart. He'd have as much claim as you do now, Dr. Ingram. He'd have more ground to stand on than Dr. Ingram does, because at least that general practitioner isn't specializing in sexual dysfunction and stuff, right? Those kind of things sometimes are psychological. They don't look to medications. And one might imagine that a psychiatrist would want to help their patient who has that psychologically induced condition or something. It's like, oh God, I'm looking forward to it now. I'm looking forward to it because he needs to get lambasted. And I'm going to baste him and rotisserie his ass. He's going to feel like such an idiot by the time I'm done with my litany of complaints, right? Because he fucked up, it's like, and he must have just been like not paying attention because he should know. I've pressed him before, He should know that I'm not going to put up with this bullshit and he's not going to sneak it past me. Maybe he must not even be aware it's bullshit on some level. I don't know. He wasn't until I called him on it. The thing is, my initial response to his message, which was a message form, it included a lot of arguments, but I kind of fired it off in anger, It wasn't an especially well-crafted case. It was just haphazardly stacked reasons. Well, I want my doctor to do his job. He is a drug dealer, and his job is to deal me drugs. It is not to tell somebody else to deal me some of my drugs while he deals me some of my drugs. It's fucking ridiculous. I'm not in any trouble. I'm mad at my doctor. And the thing is, the traveler, I purposely went out and got a doctor who's most like that, a private psychiatrist who prescribes the drugs that are, they don't like to give you, right? And doesn't take any insurance, only takes cash, right? And charges a fair amount. In other words, regardless of anything else, he's not getting paid by my insurance. He's getting paid by me, by charging my debit card, taking the money directly out of my bank account. So we better fucking do his job. I'm not worried about the cost of the pills. I'm just saying, I have a psychiatrist who's expensive already. I don't want to get any other doctor. And if I had a broken arm, I'd be like, oh shit, well, there's no way my psychiatrist can fix this. I'm going to have to go see another doctor. But, I expect him to try to be helpful, not an impedance to solutions. And there's no possible way you can say that he was trying to be or being anything but an impedance to solution in this instance. And the truth is, it's like, if I don't get that, I'm just not going to take any Wellbutrin because that messes with my self-concept way more than I guess I expected or would have thought or something. Yeah, it's just like, I don't like that at all. I need to be able to fuck my hot young wife. Otherwise, I'm just going to feel like just not a man, Excuse me, Capio. No, that's why I'm going to point this out as well. I'm going to say to him, listen, you have all the power in this relationship. Remember this, right? That you can at any point say, you know what? I'm not going to be your doctor anymore, Eric. Fuck off. And then you'll fuck up my life for months. And I go try to find another doctor to prescribe me Adderall. And, have to explain to him how I don't have a prescription anymore because my doctor fired me because I'm a difficult patient, which is not going to likely be resulting in them being helpful at all. So, I am aware that you have all the power in this relationship. And yet I am speaking truth to you because I still trust you enough and respect you enough to assume you're going to be accountable here and do the right thing, admit you were wrong, prescribe me Viagra, and we can wash our hands of this whole thing and not be a spiteful, arbitrary little bitch. I'm 6'5" about. Well, I'm not in a funky hat mood right now. I'm in a yell at the doctor mood. I'm behind on your issue. Whatever, my friend, I pray all is in your favor. Thanks, Link 1111. My issue is I got prescribed Wellbutrin a couple of months ago. As soon as I started taking it, it completely eliminated my sex drive. And that was bad, right? That was bad. I just don't seem to want to have sex with her. I don't feel like initiating it ever or something. But, then as I continued on the Wellbutrin, there were occasions where it did start up, and things didn't work properly. Now, that's worse in my mind. That's more embarrassing and worse and horrible. So, than a lack of sex drive. So, I right away messaged my doctor telling him the Wellbutrin seems to work well as far as treating this sort of negative self-talk stuff, but there's a problem. It has one side effect I don't like at all. It completely killed my sex drive. He ignored that message I sent him. So then after a couple of months realizing I have to stop taking this for a couple of days when I want to have sex. I don't want that, right? I don't even know who Richard Allen is. So the thing is, some people do have psychological ED, right? And they might go to a psychiatrist for that too. The thing is, I don't have that, and it doesn't even if I were to stop taking Wellbutrin and wouldn't need Viagra, I still would want to get it because it's like it makes you more horny and it makes it better, and it's I feel like I don't know. See, the thing is, if I could go back in time, I would be taking it my whole life already. Well, the thing is, David, part of the reason why my doctor is pushing back on this is that Wellbutrin is the one antidepressant that doesn't normally correlate with sexual issues, but I react differently to things than other people. Like, purportedly, Prozac kills your sex drive. Rachel reports that, she has lower sex drive on days when she takes it. But it made me horny. When I was taking her Prozac before I got prescribed Wellbutrin, that made me horny. So, I don't know. And the thing is, I'm not bullshitting this. You can go back to a few days after I got prescribed Wellbutrin. There's a live stream where I'm talking about all this. I'm saying the Wellbutrin killed my sex drive, and Prozac, interestingly, made me horny. And I didn't know at that point that I'd ever get any pushback at all from the doctor on this issue. So obviously I wasn't like sculpting a strategic attack in advance with some sort of super genius anticipation. I know, Putty Cat. I know. And that's what made it affect my self-concept so much. Like, you know, I can't keep taking this shit if it's gonna harm my relationship that much. I mean, my problem is not depression, right? I have what you might call some kind of OCD or Tourette's like negative self talk. So that's what I took. That's what I got prescribed the Wellbutrin for. I'd never described what I was experiencing as depression. I described the behaviors I was engaging in, which was Tourette's like repetition of negative self talk phrases such as, I hate myself. I wish I were dead. Shoot me in the head. Um, shame and anxiety. I even have oh, I have little things for him. So, IHM Smith is shoot me in the head. Saw is shame and anxiety. Because I need to repeat them so often, I can't always say them in full, right? So I have abbreviated versions of them too. This is something I used to do before I quit drinking. I'd get up every morning with good cause and say, I hate myself, you worthless drunk, you should die. And that's understandable in that context, right? But I don't have good cause for that right now. I've been on almost every antidepressant from typicals to atypicals. And the key takeaway is this: it doesn't matter at all what causing the issue, even if it isn't somehow well-being, which it definitely is, but it doesn't matter, right? The thing is, what I can self-report, and it's very much true, is that Rachel and I having a healthy, active, regular sex life is incredibly significant to my mental health. It just is. It's like I just need to fuck that woman. She needs to be fucked. It's like, can you imagine just being around this hot woman all the time and just not even being able to fuck her? It just makes me feel like old and just kill me and go find a new man. Or can you speak about what if in the food we are consuming is affecting us? I mean, that's completely bullshit, obviously. We eat better than we ever have in human history, and preservatives and stuff like that are excellent. They help prevent us from eating rotten food and ensure that we can maintain fresh supplies of good, healthy food all the time. Like, here's a reality. Some people say things like McDonald's is unhealthy, but there's nothing at all unhealthy about McDonald's, right? It's not any more unhealthy than you making a hamburger at home. And it's not the case that hamburgers are unhealthy. It really depends on your body and your metabolism and stuff like that as to what kind of food you need to eat. I need to eat a lot of protein and fat, or else I starve to death. But it is the case that the diet I eat is probably not good for my colon and my prostate and stuff. But you know what? My body just needs to fucking check itself before it wrecks itself. It needs to just be tougher. Maybe I'll even start exercising. Who knows? I don't like the idea. It sounds like crazy talk, but it's conceivable. Anyway, so the thing is, he doesn't have any good options here, right? Like, he can't really fire me very easily because, number one, Rachel's also his patient. And what is he going to fire her too? And if he doesn't fire her, then every time they have a doctor's appointment, I'm going to poke my head in the room and say, "You piece of shit." Leave. He's not, and then have to fire Rachel too. I'll have to go to another, and say, "You really are abdicating any sense of responsibility for your patients, aren't you?" I mean, he's a TI user, I think, but even if he's not a TI user, then he's an FI DOM and he's TIA, INFP. He's either INFP or INTP, I think. And I don't think he is so like toxic and fucked up that he could just do that and be okay with himself and not look back. I think he's a better person than that, you know. He did fuck up. I am going to hold him accountable. He is going to admit he was wrong and prescribe me the Viagra. And hopefully that'll be the last we ever deal with this matter. But because, you know, any alternative other than that is going to be a mess. But if it's going to be a mess for me, it is going to be a mess for him too. I will make sure of that. So, thing is, I don't want to be a difficult patient, but I'm kind of happy that this happened because obviously he's gotten too big for his britches. He's gotten complacent, you know. He's started to become so enamored of his doctorness that he's forgotten to be a human being. I don't want any opioids at all. Rachel's on benzos. They're not all narcissists, all right? It's ridiculous. But they generally are, in fact, the worst doctors. They are protocol intensive, intuition free ESTJ nightmares. Those are the worst doctors. They are not narcissists. They're just ESTJs who have no intuition. I don't know what's up with the orbs, Billy Wallace. Not to mention the eye candy at a gym. I have had some success with women at the gym. That's what they're there for, pretty cat. They're just pretending to exercise. They're really there to attract the eye of a handsome man like yourself. I don't like downers. I do like benzos occasionally, but so GMO is not an alarming thing after all this time we've been warned about the consumption of it over time. Yeah, GMOs aren't concerning to me particularly, but you know, I think that there would be cause to worry about things like pesticides, except, you know, people older than you already suffered those consequences, and now basically, you know. Do I support Palestine, Gaza? No, I don't support Israel either. I'm an American. I support America. Do I think that Palestine is getting a bit of a raw deal? Yeah, but I'm also tired of hearing you complain about it. So just, you know, I'm 53 years old. When I was a kid, I remember hearing on the news stuff about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. When I was in high school, I debated policy debate, and we used Israel-Palestine as impacts for things and as blocks and various other things, you know. And to this day now, 50 years later, not a goddamn thing has changed, so fuck you! Well, then fix the problem. Why are you here complaining to me about it? I can't do anything about it. I'm just a guy sitting here in my house live streaming. I'm not going to go fly to Palestine and get those kids. Why don't you do that? Why don't you go fly to Palestine and rescue those children? Why are you here wasting your time talking to me? You're so wicked. You know so much about the suffering of these children, and you're not doing anything about it. You're just blabbing at me and making me pissed and not care about Palestine. Rude. As a female gym goer, I wish gyms were segregated because I actually wear cute stuff in peace. Well, you know what, KE? As a non-gym user, I wish all gyms would go out of business because they're fucking stupid. How do you like that? Then you can dress as cute as you want. And you can do what sane people do. Go jog in the street, not go jog inside a building. Do what sane people do. Lift up heavy things because you're doing work. Don't lift weights just for the sake of it. You know, gyms. They say they're gymnasiums, but have you noticed how few of them actually have the nasium? Maybe they've just given up on even trying to be fancy. KE, you do something at the gym, something boring and unpleasant. And I'm just trying to help you. I'm trying to save you from your bad idea of going to the gym. You're welcome. Have you got a chimney for Santa? My butt's a chimney for Santa. Come inside my chimney tonight. I think there's a guy by the name of Dr. Serby looking to his way of carrying the body through herbs. Okay, I don't have problems with my body. There's nothing to cure, right? I'm perfectly healthy. I do have a little bit of PTSD, you know? And that links to the negative self-talk. My dad's self-deletion kind of screwed me up a little bit. Hopefully, you know, I'll get over that or whatever. I carry stuff so my back doesn't hurt when I carry groceries. Well, you know what you should do? Instead of carrying stuff at the gym, just carry the groceries up to your house, then back to your car, then up to your house, then back to your car again, and then up to your house. And that is the same thing as going to the gym, but you don't have to pay a monthly fee for it. And you don't have to have those awful, creepy men looking at your luscious, womanly body. Okay? You can improve your moves too by gaining lower body flexibility. I am so flexible, I could put both of my feet all the way down my throat. I'm not going to show you. You live in Europe? Well, yeah. What is this? Kay admits to all of her flaws. That's the issue. People go to the gym just to be cute and see who's going to pay attention to them so they can complain. You know what it kind of makes me want to do? It kind of makes me want to go outside and exercise in a cute fashion for you so that you can feel like you're at the gym. That's the kind of generous live streamer I am, you know. The neighbors will think I'm insane for exercising. You live in the USA? You do? Hey, that's the same country I live in. All right, let's see. I'm going to do my imitation of Kay at the gym. All right. Let's go. Here we go. Here's Kay at the gym. First, here's Kay in the women's locker room. Oh, let me just get into my sexiest little outfit in the locker room. Isn't it horrible, girls, how those dirty men look at us? Yeah, it sure is, Kay. It's horrible. That's it. I'm going to go out and exercise. And 1 and 2. 1 and 2. Stop looking at me, you creep. So basically, what you just got to see was closed circuit TV of Kay at the gym. That's what you got to see. You're welcome. Where's the towel and the pink shoes? You have to imagine those, okay? You have to imagine them. I don't do squats as warm up. You know why? I don't need to do squats. That's how limber I am. Look at this. That was a little bit too high. Look at this one. That's why I made it onto the Rockettes. They're the most high-kickingest dance troupe of all time. My educational moment is brought to you by Coors Edge. Yeah, I'm pretty limber. Let's see how close to my toes I can touch. Probably not very close, but let's try. All right, here we go. There. That's not that close. All right, that's not that close, but do I believe in push-ups? Well, I believe they exist. I mean, I can do a lot of push-ups, but they're air push-ups, okay? They're a little different from regular push-ups. I can do a lot of these kind of push-ups. This is a pretty good push-up. What am I at, 5? 10? Get me out of here. What is going on? When was the last time you played basketball? A long time ago. Decades ago at this point, probably. I used to play quite a bit, but I'd say I was done playing by, mostly done playing by 35 or so. I can do that, yes. However, I don't like to risk it because my head sometimes spontaneously combusts from padding. Because I have that flint and steel installed right here. Do you stay up in the hills? If so, a mountain bike is a good idea. I have a mountain bike. But it has flat tires. It's parked down by the shed. And additionally, we do have a lot of like mountain roads, like unpaved little roads through the mountains and stuff. But I have a little wilderness car, so there's no reason to ride my bicycle. I have a special gas-powered vehicle designed specifically to replace a bicycle in here. So I would open it, except I don't know what I did with the twanger. I guess I left it in a little wilderness car. If I wanted to do exercise a lot, if I really felt like doing it, it's a lot of exercise to climb down there to the little stream at the bottom of the gully and climb back up here. It's quite a hike, actually, because it's a steep hill climbing back up it. And that's why I don't ever go down there. And I could also get some pretty good exercise if I were to walk down to the shed down there when I need to go to the shed occasionally, or want to. I don't really ever need to go to the shed, but sometimes I feel like going, like looking for things in there. So there's lots of random shit in there. But the thing is, even though I could get exercise by walking to the shed, instead, I drive my little wilderness car down there. So I don't have to walk to the shed. Yeah, but look at me walking now. I'm doing a lot of walking. I'm walking all around the house. And I might burst into aerobics at any minute. You never know. I could do some jazzercise. Well, that's the thing, Acacia. Sure, I'm not determined not to take another antidepressant. The thing is, I want Viagra regardless. Now that I've taken it, I'm like, this stuff's fantastic. I want to have this all the time. It makes me feel, like a real stud. My grandpa told me he should know since he is in his 80s. Well, you know what? Your grandpa is responsible, at least in part, for a woman who tries to poison the eyes of men with her sexiness at the gym. So, excuse me for not respecting his opinion a lot. I mean, his granddaughter is such a whore. Oh, kitty. I don't want to watch you eat. That kitty is a silly kitty. Maybe not though. Maybe I taught him those skills. You taught Ruben his HVAC skills? If a bear chased you, you would outrun it, or would it be your end from the bear overtaking me? I would just say, get out of here, bear. Get out of here, Barry. I don't want you. You're in my line of sight. Move. And then I'd throw a rock at it. I always wonder in those videos of, like, oh, guy's backing away and there's a mountain lion over there, a bear. Something. Why don't they pick up a rock and throw it at it? Occasionally, I don't know what her skills are. It's that she has a mystery compendium of skills that she doesn't let anybody see. I think one of her skills might be basket weaving, and another of her skills might be magical anointing. That's when, you put some sort of like oil or water on their head and then they develop special spiritual powers. I don't run from bears because the problem isn't me, right? I'm not going to attack the bear. So why should I have to be the one who has to move? The bear doesn't have to move either. It's going to just stand there. That's fine. But it starts like being like, hey, I want to have this space without you here. And I just be like, fuck you. Get out of here. This is the roof right here. I could touch it easily enough. It's low ceilings in here. One of the things I don't love about the place. It's high enough for me. Except for these stupid ass fucking ceiling fans. Oh, I hate this fan so much. I hate the ceiling fan. You have enough video footage of yourself that you could likely create an AI version of yourself and have people ask AI you questions. It's pretty entertaining. Oh yeah, I mean I probably have more video footage of me actually talking and saying things than maybe anybody in history, right? I'm sure there are other channels that have some sort of team effort where they live stream 24 hours a day, but it's not actually really live streaming. As far as some random guy who's actually spending all these hours of his life live streaming from the moment YouTube started live streaming on the platform. I mean, I can't imagine that there's really a lot of other creators out there who have more actual live stream content than me. I'm not talking about like, sometimes like Cartoon Network or one of those kind of channels will live stream some of their shows, just kind of play them back to back and stream on YouTube. I'm not talking about that shit. I don't remember how long exactly, David, but I've been YouTubing for 10 years or so, 12, 10, 11, 12 years, I'm not sure. But I've been live streaming since the moment they started live streaming. In fact, I was basically trying to live stream before they had live streaming by having a video conference room, having conversations with people, chopping those up. I had this thing made that chopped them up and uploaded them automatically to a YouTube channel called TWFP Raw. So I was in some sense kind of live streaming on YouTube before they even had live streaming, but it wasn't really live streaming. Perhaps Asmongold. What's Asmongold? Can I skate or rollerblade? No, that sounds like Eric falls on his ass. I can ski though, and I do have plans to go skiing with Cameron this winter at some point. Yeah, well, it's because Acacia completed an intensive 6-week program in Jive Turkey taught by me. She was willing to put her money where her mouth was. She spent the $4,990 on the class. It was 6 weeks, 20 minutes a week. And, most of it was preface and review. He's a Twitch streamer. Who is a Twitch streamer? A Florida man with long hair. Perhaps Asmongold? Oh, I see. That's the Florida man with long hair. Hey, I mean, I'm not making a claim that I have more live stream content than anybody else, nor do I want to, I'm not making an effort to attain that title either. I'm just saying, I naturally live stream a lot. I like to live stream if it's my remedy when I'm mad about something or thinking too much about something. It's my remedy if I'm feeling like I want company and Rachel's still asleep. Rachel's asleep, that's where she is. Educational moment. Hashtag educational moment. Why do you no longer take us to the shed? Well, I could take you to the shed, but I couldn't even open the garage door to show the little wilderness car because I don't know where I left the garage door open there. But we could go to the shed. We could look at some things. But we can't go into the shed. That's the thing. I could take you down to the shed, but if I try to take you into the shed, then we lose connectivity. So, also, I'm afraid if I take you down to the shed, I might leave you down there. You might get stuck in the shed. I might find your bones years later. Would you miss it if you couldn't live stream for 24 hours? If I would miss it if I couldn't live stream for 24 hours and I wanted to. There are stretches of time where I don't really feel like it, which is what I call sleepy week. Sometimes I feel it more than others during sleepy week. This last sleepy week, I was unusually absent because I was frustrated, feeling fussy, etc. Just for kicks, Eric, tell us why the GMO subject not relevant at this point. After all, it's not natural from nature, right? So what's your point of view on this? Well, I mean, there's no reason to think that something that's all natural is better for you than something that has been engineered by humans in some fashion. It might be the case that if you could find, a specific genetically modified food and find and articulate specific harms that can be proved by isolating something unique to the GMO food and establishing that thing is causing the problem. well, then we could reasonably be concerned about it. But in general, I think that food stuff is a bit of a willow wisp for people who are not SI front stack. If you're if you have introverted sensing and your conscious knowledge function, then you're not going to be um, you're not going to be maybe as prone to thinking that a food is bad for you unless you actually unless it actually makes you feel bad. So what the kind of arguments you'll hear a lot are that, well, you're eating unhealthy, and if you just eat healthy, you would really experience an amazing difference. You'd see the difference. It's crazy how much the difference is when you eat healthy, you know? But such people are usually NI people who are creating that narrative, right? Because they don't have they're not consciously knowing what their body's telling them. What our bodies are telling us is that every time I eat a meal, I feel satiated, full, filled with calories, satisfied. Sometimes I'll find myself craving a salad or some fruit or something. That means I probably haven't had much of that lately, right? My body's telling me what to eat. I know that, you know, organic food isn't any better for you than regular food because it doesn't make you feel any different. But if you don't have that body awareness front stack, you might not know that. And so you might just assume that must be the case. You might note some sort of behavioral difference. I've done more stuff recently. This food, change in food must be giving me more energy or something like that. That's not how you, that's not how you should evaluate things that are biological like that. So it's like, there's nothing wrong with you. But people who believe in diet, right? They think, well, I know I didn't have any specific articulable problem linked to this food that I claim is bad, right? But nevertheless, via the wonderful power of placebo effect, since I've changed my diet, I've been more aware of my health, I've been thinking about it, and sure enough, it works. You know, it doesn't. It's like retaining your semen. It's one of those crazy things that, like, usually NI fourth is fond of those kind of things. But, you know, NI first can be a little bit too. Like my friend Corey, he had a lot of that kind of crazy shit. Like, no, you just need to eat colloidal silver because its magical precious metal properties will heal your body. Well, it's true that like silver has antibacterial qualities, antimicrobial qualities. That's no reason to believe that consuming colloidal form of silver is good for you. So, like, if I listened to somebody else's idea of what a healthy diet was, an average healthy diet, and tried to eat like that, I would be weak, hangry all the time, fussy. You know, I would be like, "What's wrong with me?" Except I wouldn't be like that. I'd be like, "I know what's wrong with me. I'm fucking starving to death." I have a very high metabolism. You know, I need a lot of fat and meat and stuff. Why are a lot of fruits these days with no seeds? I've not encountered many. I mean, I know they work hard to try to get like seedless grapes and seedless oranges and stuff like that, but the fruits that I think of as having seeds still have seeds. You know, like strawberries are covered in little seeds, kiwis are covered in seeds, papayas are filled with seeds, watermelons are filled with seeds, other melons are filled with seeds, lemons have seeds in them. They all have. Uh, My weed didn't have any seeds in it, and the reason it didn't have any seeds is because I didn't have any male plants. I don't doubt that pesticides were at one point a problem, but you know, like we go back to World War II and a little bit after World War II, we have this period of time where the U.S. is above ground nuclear testing in Nevada, such that they have to wait till make sure the wind's not blowing towards Los Angeles, then we'll do it. And then people that like see the flash in the sky, you know. Well, you could well say, "Hey, this is a terrible idea," you know. We don't want to get radiation all over everybody. But the thing is, we're not doing that anymore. And people, you know, the way things are done is much more sensible now. So we used to have pesticides that were horrible, like DDT and shit. There used to be like thalidomide, which they prescribed to people for morning sickness to cause those little flipper arms and shit. And those kind of incidents caused reforms in both the FDA and the EPA and stuff like that. And accordingly, we've mostly worked out the kinks of that stuff. We do use pesticides on foods that we eat, but it's also the case that they have scheduled stuff such that the pesticide isn't applied to the food after a certain point before harvest, you know, like, and then of course we wash the food off, and obviously before they're gonna, you know, before these mini government organizations are gonna say this pesticide is approved for use on food crops, you know, it used to be the case that we didn't have sufficient regulation regulation on unhealthy shit like leaded gas, blah, 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 blah. It's really not much the case anymore. It's much more likely to have too much regulation these days. But it's possible. I mean, it's possible that there might be some pesticides on some foods that aren't good for you that still get into you from the food, even if you wash it, and even if the pesticide isn't applied till late in the isn't applied late in the growing cycle. It's possible, but we have no reason to believe that. After all, we've got a huge amount of demographic information. We've got a population of hundreds of millions in America alone. And if you could articulate an actual problem that was specific, that linked to a specific pesticide, because remember, pesticides in general can't be bad, right? If you want to make a case that pesticides are bad, then you're trying to ignore the fact that some pesticides can be used in safe ways that don't harm people, or have displayed no indications of harming people, even after being used for decades, even with a population of hundreds of millions of people. Or if there are harms, they're very subtle, and or they are haphazardly linked. Like some people report these symptoms, some people report these symptoms, and it's really just kind of like people on the internet creating a narrative that the boogeyman is our our collective move away from nature, you know? Well, that's not the boogeyman. And unfortunately, we can't really understand the world by figuring out what the boogeyman is. So, it's by and large, certainly, the food we currently consume is healthier, more nutritious, more varied. It's all those things than ever before, more or less. Give or take 50 years or something. If you don't want any chance of eating pesticides, you can buy organic, but I think it's a waste of money. I think food is not the issue. It's certain chemicals that leach into foods that are toxic, microplastics, etc. Yeah, well, I mean, that's another thing that they've improved on too, is packaging. So it used to be that everything came in plastic, but like I got these Marie Callender's meals, and they came in like the kind of cardboard bowl that it's kind of like the cardboard they make coffee heat protectors out of. Anyway, okay, why are other countries I'm hearing rejecting products from the West? They don't want them. I mean, I don't buy any products from India to eat. It's not because there's something wrong with it. It's because it's gross and weird. Like, and I don't know what this stuff is. Yeah, that's why I don't eat that. That's why I don't buy that stuff. Is it true that margarine is not that much sold in America, and they say butter is healthier? I don't think margarine's unhealthy. I think butter's just better. You should eat butter because it's delicious. Indian food is delicious, right? But I'm not going to go to the store and go to the, international food section of the store and buy some weird Indian bag of dried stuff with words on it I don't understand and stuff like that because it just seems like gross and weird to me. If I go to an Indian restaurant and order it and be served it and think it's delicious, but if I'm in the store, I don't want to buy some random weird thing I don't know about from some foreign country that speaks a language I don't speak and has alphabet letters in a different alphabet. In vitro fertilization, Sean L. No. I told you once, I will tell you again, you may not inseminate me. Talk about presumptuous. Hi, MNDGXD. How are you? Putty Cat, are you trying to convince Sean to inseminate me? Can both of you just knock it off, please? Neither of you can inseminate me, and neither of you should be in favor of either of you inseminating me. Well, this is what it's like to be a sex symbol like myself. When you are an international supermodel sex symbol like me, people are always trying to inseminate you. Rhino pills are awesome supplements for short-term, last-minute needs. Rhino pills, what are those? Oh, I'm not gonna replace Viagra. I have some left, and if I were to run out, I'd just stop taking Wellbutrin. I'm not. I. I would still try. If my doctor doesn't prescribe it, I will go get it prescribed from someplace else. But between between not getting prescribed by this doctor and getting prescribed by some other doctor, I would stop taking the Wellbutrin because this is more important. Actually, it's like this makes me more depressed um, than the depression that Wellbutrin is curing. You know, I don't feel that way now because I have Viagra, and I was like, oh my God. At first, I was like, I don't want to have to take this stuff. How embarrassing. But now I realize this stuff is wonderful. I want to take this every time I have sex. I have issues with Luvox and Zoloft causing anorgasmia. What's that? I've never heard of that before. Let me see. I'll Google it. Oh, you can't come. That's called can't come disorder. Sometimes it's good to not come. But then, you just take a break, and then later you're like, well, I'm still horny actually because in fact I'm even more because I didn't come earlier. And you're like, all right, that's it. I need to teach you a lesson for me not coming earlier. And the only way you learn is by me fucking you. There's no connection to all this that all this has nothing to do with the warning and the threat that Georgia Guidestones says to humanity. I mean, the Georgia Guidestones represents the agenda of a specific group of people who have a clear vision for what they'd like the world to be. Their vision is a little a little dictatorial, like who's gonna decide who gets to have kids, right? The funny thing is the people behind those guidestones, it's like almost everybody who's behind those guidestones has like 8 or 10 kids. It's weird. I guess they're a little inured to hypocrisy. Your initial argument is that if people are all gay, the human race would die. It is incorrect, Buddy Cat, because even gay men, you know, they could fuck a man, they could fuck a cantaloupe, you know, they could fuck a woman. I'm sure they could fuck lots of things. But the women are gay too, they don't want to get fucked. But even gay women might want to have kids, you know. If everyone were gay, you might have gay men and gay women have some strange arrangement so that the gay man thinks he's having sex with a man. It looks like he's having sex with a man, but it's actually the woman who's hiding underneath like a plate that has a picture of a man's back, right? And then the woman thinks she's having sex with a woman because in front of her, the screen which just has a woman's legs spread in front of her face. This is the special mechanism they use to keep the human race alive in all gay world. This is the gayest world I've ever seen, the gayest world I've ever been to. That's a very, very gay world. Welcome to Gay World. Today on Gay World, we're going to explore the important issue of childbirth, child rearing, and reproduction. Hi, I'm your host, Gay Eric. And here in Gay World, we may not want to have sex with women, but we still need to get them pregnant. Let's talk about how. So now, I just explained exactly what would happen if we were in Gay World, okay? They'd have pictures of man's backs to paste onto the back of the woman and vice versa-ish, you know? It'd be fun. A woman just close her eyes and pretend it's a dildo. Have you ever asked them about Zoloft? I don't want no Zoloft. What's Zoloft? Is that a benzo? I don't want to take benzos on the regular. I'm not. My issue is I don't know if it's depression or not. I wouldn't call it depression. I would say the reason I got prescribed this was because I had a report. You know, I told the doctor how I had a lot of negative self-talk. That I took Rachel's Prozac, starting to take Rachel's Prozac, and it seemed to help some. With the idea that maybe he was going to prescribe me Prozac. I wasn't asking for Wellbutrin. If he prescribed me Prozac, we wouldn't be having this conversation. It's kind of good that he prescribed me Wellbutrin because it made me realize how much I like Viagra and how much I want to get it. You know, so in that regard, it all worked out fine. But take a inky or a blinker. Take a blinker. Well, I don't even have a vape here, but I will take some bar reps, I think. Did I ever eat anything? Yeah, I did eat that. But sweet and sour chicken. All right. We're going to pull a few bong reps. You know what we might do after that? Maybe I'll grab something, take a shower. Feel kind of stinky. Not really stinky, but just kind of coated in my own slime because I drove all the way to the casino in Turlock yesterday night and sat there and gambled for quite a while and broke completely even. I was there for like 6 hours and I broke even to the dollar. I left with exactly as much cash in my wallet as I went there with. So that's a very successful gambling trip, obviously, if you don't lose any money. But it also made me feel like, why did I go do this for this long? And absolutely nothing happened in terms financially. I mean, things happened over the course of the time. I was up for a while playing 3 card poker. Then I went and played regular poker, which, as always, I lost all of my chips that I had at poker because I suck at poker. And then I was, I don't know, down a couple $100 or something. I guess I was down more than that because it must have been down like 300 or something. Because then I went to, yeah, I was down 300 because then I went to 3 card poker again and I won it all back. And then I was up like $100 or a little bit less than that. And I just was like, all right, well, I'll just bet this here on this one. And if it hits, then maybe I'll set aside another. I'll be able to set aside another 100. But if it doesn't, then I'll just leave and I'll be break even. And it didn't, and I left and I was break even. So that's the story of me being at the casino for quite a long time and accomplishing nothing. But the moral of the story is, accordingly, I feel a little slimy and gross because I had a long car ride. I had to sit in a chair for a while. you know, it was fine. It was fun. I enjoyed it. Hey, old timer, some old timer advice. Don't trust a fart and never waste a boner. You can't waste a boner, okay? It's like if you don't attend to it at that moment, it will come back soon enough. I wonder if that would be a good real life description of what existentialism is like. I guess if you never do it again, it would be a great representation of nihilism. What are you talking about? Link says, Eric, are you aware of the robot companions they have in production for humans to transition to? That's not going to work. It's ridiculous. It's like they're producing like the robot part that you're going to presumably like stick a human brain into. No, not going to happen. If instead what you're saying is they're going to like recreate your personality by having AI access everything you ever said and try to create a character that acts and sounds and stuff just like you, well, then you're not transitioning at all. There's just somebody made an imitation you that persists after you're dead. So, if somebody's making robots to drop a brain into, ah, medical science has advanced a lot further than I knew. I'm shocked to hear that because in the status quo, that is definitely impossible. And probably will be for a very long time. Oh, my casino story. Good real life description of what existentialism is like. Yeah. Existence is like going to the casino for a long time and breaking even. It's like, why did you even go there? Doom Patrol Cliff. That was a tongue twister. Was it? What was the tongue twister? Just an opinion. What do you believe is after death? I have no idea. Nobody else does either. We have so little reason to believe any specific answer is correct over any other specific answer that the only correct answer is for everybody. Everybody you ask that question to, the only correct answer is, I have no fucking idea. Everybody should answer it like that. If they don't answer it like that, they're wrong married to their wrongness, and passionate about it. But they have low ambiguity tolerance. I'm fine with not, not getting to know that. Like, definitionally, we don't get to know that because when somebody is truly dead, definitionally, they can never come back and convey any further information to us. So, it's true that people who have near-death experiences who aren't dead can share with us what their experience of being not dead was, right? But that's not informative of what being dead is like, because obviously the difference between being dead and being not dead is that being not dead is not dead. All right, so I think I'm going to wrap this up. It's time for me to take a shower and have a shower, power hour, flower scour. I'm going to do that. Then I'm going to try to get a little bit of sleep. Will I successfully get sleep? Only the shadow knows. Until later, good night, good luck. I love you all, and don't forget to eat plenty of cheese.